2 Grammy Awards and their debut album selling over 12 million copies, Evanescence have stormed onto the worldwide music stage. This film exclusively reveals their roots and finds out how this award-winning band has soared to global success. Lead singer Amy Lee was born on the 13th of December 1981 in Riverside, California. At the age of 6, and shortly after the death of her younger sister Bonnie on St. Patrick's Day in 1988, her family moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. Despite the loss of her sister, Amy had a happy childhood, attending the Pulaski Academy in West Little Rock. She was very active artistically and was particularly keen on music.
Because she was somewhat introspective after losing her little sister, who was her little buddy, she became serious very quickly. My mother encouraged us to say, let's get Amy some piano lessons, let's do piano. And Amy actually even said to Sarah at one time, I'd really like to take piano lessons. I want to learn how to play the piano, after she heard Sarah playing it. So early on she had an interest in music. We've always played music to her. When all these kids, when they were little babies, we sung to them with the guitar, and music has been a part of this household.
Coming from a musical family has made Amy's influences varied.
When you talk to Amy, some of her favorite artists, she'll mention some of the more contemporary groups, Green Day and a few others, and I'm sure Kurt Cobain and people like that. But she'll also talk about Carole King or Marvin Gaye. And it's an interesting variety, and I think she's been influenced from a lot of different angles, and it makes her music a little bit more interesting.
At the age of 14, Amy had a chance meeting at a church camp with local guitarist Ben Moody. The entertainment editor of the Arkansas Times, Jim Harris, recalls the story of how the pair formed.
Evanescence started as a duo, actually, with Ben Moody and Amy Lee. They met at a summer camp, that they hit it off as good friends, and musically inclined as they both were, they really had a lot of mutual likes as far as the type of music they wanted to play.
Evanescence's first bass player, Nick Williams, remembers the story of how Ben Moody and Amy Lee met.
She was playing piano and singing a Meatloaf song, and Ben heard it and was impressed by it, and went over and just like, where'd you learn that? Like, who are you?
She sang wonderfully, as Ben recalls, and from that point on, I'm thinking they were only maybe 12 or 13 at this time. Actually, Ben is older, so maybe Ben was 13 or 14, Amy was younger.
But Ben was the strange-looking one at the church. He was the one with the spiky hair or the dog collar or something, And when you meet Ben for the first time as a dad, and he's a 14, you kind of go, okay. But I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I was in a rock and roll band.
Ben Moody is a genius in terms of programming, keyboards, guitar. He can do and play just about anything.
Ben would come over to the house, and they would sit right here. We had a piano over here. We didn't have this nice big piano from Baldwin. Thank you, Baldwin. So they mainly would spend time writing, and I knew that they were interested in doing things together as far as writing and creating, but they never played out. So I didn't know that they were actually becoming a group.
It's the definition of Evanescence is such a, a breezy, light, wispy kind of thing you can't put your finger on. Well, that's kind of what Evanescence is, and you really can't put your finger on everything.
Owner of Bigwig Records, Brad Cavanis, signed the band to his label at a young age and remembers what Ben Moody was like as a budding musician.
Ben Moody would watch episodes of VH1's Behind the Music like it was a lectureship series. You know, I mean, he was in training to be a rock star.
In fact, I used to come in and suggest, boy, it would be great if you guys would learn some cover tunes. And it's always a big joke around here that I would say, you guys are getting nowhere. The music's too long, it's too moody, it's not commercial. You need to learn some Eric Clapton, you need to learn some Leonard Skinner and some Bob Seger, and you need to get out there and play some weddings.
Little Rock, the town where Ben and Amy met, is the largest city in the state of Arkansas. It's the home to former President Bill Clinton and is in the heart of the Bible Belt in Middle America. Adam Peterson is the webmaster of LittleRockHardcore.com and explains what the town is like.
Compared to other metropolitan areas, it's pretty small. We only have probably about 500,000 people. And compared to other metropolitan areas, that's, you know, pretty small.
Little Rock's a really big, small town. We have almost everything. You know, we have an Arena 2 football team. We don't have an NFL team.
We only have a couple of 100,000 people in Little Rock proper. As far as the actual, if you were to add in all the suburbs around Little Rock, you're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 people.
We're also famous for Bill Clinton.
Nearly 3/4 of all children brought up in Little Rock are taught to play a musical instrument, producing a number of high-standard musicians throughout the town.
Everyone I knew growing up had a piano in their house. And whether they took lessons or not, you could just sit around there, you could, you know, just kind of bang on it, you could pick out notes. A lot of kids around here, it's pretty typical that, you know, they get a guitar for their 12th birthday or something.
Talent really is strong here. We have a lot of musicians cram-packed into this area.
One of the reasons a lot of bands come out here is that the kids, they're not only inspired to make music, it's an availability. They get together, they play with their friends, it's a social thing. A lot of them have the space to rehearse, you know, in family garages or living rooms or however. There's a lot of availability around here.
In the early days, the band's songwriting ability and performance skills were primitive and a far cry from what you see today.
I mean, they weren't even called Evanescence the first time I saw them. It took me a couple of years to even remember that I saw this show. But their first performance that I saw was Amy sitting at a keyboard electronic piano and Ben Moody and Will Boyd sitting down at the bottom playing acoustic guitars. And they were all three just kind of staring at their instruments, and Amy was staring down and playing and singing, and I don't think I saw any of their faces for the whole half hour they were on stage.